Hello and welcome to this edition of Pursue the Hunt Gear Tip. So this week we're going to be talking about mechanical and fixed blade broadheads. So today we have the mechanical broadhead. We have the Rage hypodermic broadhead here, and it is attached to a Rampage Black Eagle arrow. And we also have the Slick Trick standard 4-blade. And this is a fixed broadhead attached to an Easton flatline. And then we also have, for demonstration purposes, the hypodermic practice broadhead, which is also on the Rampage Black Eagle arrow. So when talking about these two different types of broadheads, I've had the privilege of harvesting animals with both types. So the first animal I ever harvested was actually with the Easton flatline with the fixed blade broadhead, the Slick Trick here. And as you'll see in the picture here, it was a mule deer, and this was the first deer I ever harvested with a bow, and it made the Pope and Young record book, which was really exciting. So the one thing that I found with this broadhead in particular is the triangular shape of the blade. Now, if I were to take this blade apart, or broadhead, sorry, you'll see, that's the ring, that these actually are two separate blades that make a 4-blade appearance. Now, one thing I really like about the fixed blade, especially the Slick Trick, is that the triangular shape gives it a really strong reinforcement against the insert of the arrow. And by that I mean when I shot my mule deer buck, the deer jumped string on me, and I actually hit the deer in the spine. But because of the strength of the design of this broadhead, it actually broke through the bone of the spine, and I was able to get a second arrow into the animal quickly in order to expire the animal. So when I took the broadhead apart, I found that there was actually quite little damage to the blade itself. Needed to be a little bit resharpened, but other than that, the broadhead was completely reusable. So for bone penetration, I found that the Slick Trick has a really good strength ratio with the blade design. So the second animal I harvested was a Alberta black bear, and it was with an Easton flatline with a Rage hypodermic. Now, the one thing, as you'll see in the picture here, is the entrance wound channel of the Rage hypodermic is quite extensive. And what I really liked about that is, even though I didn't get a pass through on the bear, the wound channel was so huge that it allowed a large amount of devastation to the chest cavity, which allowed the animal then to expire very quickly. Now, the third animal harvested this year with the Rage hypodermic broadhead with the Rampage arrow was the penetration ability. So this arrow here was actually the exact arrow that passed through the animal with the actual broadhead here. So one thing I really liked about the smaller diameter of shaft was that the penetration ability with the large wound channel of the Rage broadhead was greater, and anytime you can get better penetration on the animal, the better. However, with the Rage hypodermic broadhead though, as you can see here, you can see that there is a little bit of a chip in the blade, and the blade was also slightly bent after passing halfway through a rib on the mule deer that I harvested in the picture here. So even though it had a complete pass through, which I had great penetration, because of the large wingspan of these blades, it doesn't have quite a great ability to anchor itself against that insert to protect the blade from as much damage, especially when it's hitting hard substance like bone. Whereas you can see these blades are quite a bit more tucked into the shaft, with that triangular shape, they can stand up to better impact on bone. So when you look at the pros and cons, I really like the Rage Hypodermic Broadhead purely because of the absolute lethality of the wound channel. I mean, it just opens the wound right up. Because of the larger wingspan, it also can clip more of the vitals. So if you're passing by the lung and not right through the lung, the longer blade extension can nick the lung easier, whereas the shorter blades won't. However, if you're hunting larger, tougher game, perhaps, or if you happen to hit the animal in the shoulder and you're using a fixed blade like the Slick Trick, it probably will stand up a little bit better for toughness. So which one do I prefer? It only honestly comes down to what type of animal I'm hunting. One of the other pros that I really like about the mechanical, especially the Rage Hypodermic, is the practice head. This practice head allows me to tune the arrows for broadhead flight much easier than using a fixed blade. So with the fixed blade, I had to buy 2 packs. One I use for practice and one I use for hunting. That way, when I'm practicing and the blades are going through the target, they're not getting dull and then going out to the field and hunting animals with dull blades. Whereas the Rage Hypodermic Broadhead practice head, you put on the end of the arrow, it's the same weight as the hypodermic, it's the same shape as the blade, and it gives you a little bit better tunability, in my opinion, just to make sure that all your arrows are dialed in for that. Because when it comes down to it, it is far more about placement of shot than weight of the arrow or poundage of the bow. If you can put this arrow into the Boilermaker, into that lung heart area, even if you break through a rib, you're gonna harvest that animal. So thanks for watching this episode of Gear Tips with Pursue the Hunt. I look forward to showing you guys everything else that I use over the next couple of weeks and give my opinions on those. If you have any questions, please comment them below or click the link and subscribe to our channel so that you can see all the other upcoming gear tip videos. And thanks for watching.